Hey guys, it's Michael from Catching the Mind here, and today I just wanted to quickly to have a discussion and be honest with the viewers, and also welcome Jaden for the next episode. Now, for myself, I've honestly just been quite under the pressure of a new full-time job, still trying to adjust and trying to, how life changes when you realise you've got so much time and then you have so little time, and I guess that's just one of those things I didn't realise how much it would come and hit me. But you know what? I'm slowly getting used to it. I'm slowly adjusting, and I'll definitely be producing more content with Jaden sooner than later, hopefully. But just for now, I'm just going to be taking a bit of a break for a while, and should be back soon. And just regarding that, I'd like to introduce you now to Jaden and his topic of this week with religious beliefs. And from my experience with religious beliefs, fair enough. I mean, I guess we all have our different religious beliefs. Some of us don't believe in anything. Some of us believe in, in God, and some of us don't. And, at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't really matter what you believe in, as long as your morals and your heart is in a good place. I think, there's always room for acceptance and love and from everyone. And on that note, I'll pass you guys now on to Jaden, and I really hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Jaden here from Couching the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. In today's episode 8, I've got Dilruk here, a dear friend of mine.
Hello.
How you going today?
Good, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, very well, thanks mate. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in ages.
Yeah, it's been a while, but here we are, right?
Are you doing well?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to hear,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Well, I've got Dilruk here today because we're going to go over the topic of faith and community, and from there he might delve into other things he might want to speak and talk about on behalf of mental health, or something that he feels like someone can benefit out of, or become better for it. So,
absolutely.
As always, there's a discretion warning. Some of the things he may say it may come across the wrong way. Everyone's got different perspectives, but it's up to you whether or not you want to skip, pause, or continue the video if you feel like certain things come up you don't particularly like. So I'm going to hand the mic over to Dilruk now, and I'll ask questions along the way. So
thank you so much. Yeah. I'll do my best not to offend anybody, I promise.
Yeah, I might just turn the light on quickly, man.
Yeah, sure. We need a bit of help to make Dilruk visible.
Oh, there you are.
There I am. We thought the white background might help, but here we are. Anyway, I think life in general is a journey. Yeah. And, like any journey, like any adventure we're on, there are ups and downs.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have the, highest mountaintop experiences, and sometimes the lowest ditchy experiences where you feel like, it's a bottomless pit that you're falling through. And for me, I kind of encountered an event like that. Probably, I would say, the lowest experience of my life last year.
Yes. And
something that I found helped me in my journey was my faith and also community.
And to those who don't believe in anything in particular, or don't have a very clear understanding of where they're heading, or like someone above. Yeah. For you, with faith, having faith behind you, how has it got you through the tough times?
Yeah, absolutely. Because I guess when tough times happen, you kind of feel like you are one by yourself.
Yeah.
And two, you also tend to lose purpose. You tend to start questioning yourself, like, is there a purpose for me being here? Why am I here? Why am I going through this?
100%.
And for me, I found it exceptionally helpful to actually be like, I'm here. Obviously, I'm a Christian. And for me to understand that, I'm here because God did not make a mistake with me. And I, as a Christian, I don't believe that God made a mistake with anybody, regardless of whether you believe in Him or not. I believe we're all here with a destiny and a purpose. But sometimes it's in those lowest points in life that we kind of need to stop, reset, and reanalyze and be like, it's pretty poopy right now, but things are going to shift. Things are going to change, and I just cannot give up, And so for me, getting back to the basics of maybe faith, getting back to the basics of even recognizing and identifying myself.
Yes.
And defaulting to the person I knew I was, which maybe sometimes we miss out on. Like sometimes we are on this journey through life, we engage ourselves in certain activities or relationships and stuff like that.
Yep.
And along the way, we miss out on who we are and our identity.
So for this particular scenario, like you don't have to mention it obviously because you might not feel obliged to, or you might not be able to mention it. But for the particular scenario that you were faced with only previously, how did you get yourself out of the poop? I mean, it's easy. Sometimes it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So how did you guide yourself out of that dark tunnel?
Absolutely. So when this scenario commenced in my life, it came unexpectedly to me. I had no idea this was going to happen, you know. And in an instant, my whole life took a turn, and everything went upside down. And to be honest, at first, for the first few weeks, I didn't know what I could do. You know, in a second, life as I knew changed drastically.
Yeah.
So, and I'm going to be extremely vulnerable and honest, and you know, because that's how I do things. I was stuck on a couch, and I just go to work because I had to. But I was stuck on a couch straight after work. I did not know if I would survive the next day. Not because I wanted to like end my life or anything like that, but because I felt my body was failing me, if that makes sense.
Really?
Because the trauma was so immense.
Wow.
And I'm sure like there are some of us who would have kind of experienced that, where things happen in life and you're not sure, despite your every effort to make it through, you're not sure if your body would keep up. You know what I mean? So I was going through that sort of phase. That's when I relied on my faith and community. I don't think any one of us is like an island. We need people to help us journey through life, especially when life gets really poop. And
you can't do it yourself, man.
Oh, absolutely.
It's one of those things where even I think as guys, it's hard to go and seek help because we're seen as weak if we do something like that. So just like. But I think sometimes you've just got to take a step back and realise, am I going to be able to get out of this situation if it wasn't for etc. etc.
Yeah.
Like you've just got to take people's hands when they're offering for help, and sometimes even ask for help if needs be.
That was a huge learning curve for me because I mean, I'm originally from Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka, the culture is such that you don't cry. A man doesn't cry. You know, boys don't cry. And through this, I guess, season of my life, man, people have seen me flat on my face, snotty nose and everything, crying, and I've had to have that help from people. Even for me to like receive help or ask for help was very difficult because that's not the culture I grew up in. But sometimes through the darker seasons of our lives, we actually learn things that are essential to life. Because we don't want to, like, obviously we want rosy lives, right?
Yeah.
We want life to be a bed of roses, but unfortunately, that's not what life is. Like, even as a Christian, the Bible declares, like, you know, Jesus himself said, in this world you will have many trials, but be of good cheer, he has overcome the world. So it's not going to be a bed of roses, but the decision and the free will is afforded to us as to what we're going to do when circumstances hit us in the face.
But I think the worse the situation may be, the better you are for it long term.
Yeah.
Because you're more accustomed for certain situations such like that to be brought up again.
Exactly. It's like your pain threshold. It kind of increases, you know. And what you thought would take you out sometimes would be the best platform for the best season of your life. Like for me, personally, if I didn't go through the season, I would have never met you. Yeah. And we wouldn't be sharing this, you know, we wouldn't be on this platform right now. Obviously, like my situation commenced with my relationship breaking up, which was huge because my wife and I, we share 4 children and all of that. So when things like that happen, it is huge, right? So then you take a step back and you start analyzing, like, you know, where did you go wrong? Because essentially for a relationship to break down, it takes 2 people. Yeah. And it would have been easy for me to, you know, embrace the victimhood and be like, oh my goodness, you know, all that stuff.
Poor me.
Poor me. And unfortunately, like, the culture we live in kind of encourages that sort of behavior. Like, oh, you're a victim. So, yeah, exactly. It's great to weep with those who weep, right? And mourn with those who mourn, but don't I think we need to surround ourselves with people who also hold us accountable.
Yes.
And if we're going to kind of embrace and water the seeds of victimhood that all of us carry, then we're going to just completely embrace that victimhood and never come out of it. Yeah. And I think that is an exceptional disservice that we do to our friends and colleagues and all of those people we do life with if we kind of resort to them staying in that place of defeat.
When you went through your divorce, would you have any advice for those who are maybe potentially going through the same thing that right now, how to get through it the best way possible?
Yeah. So to clarify things, I'm not divorced just yet. We're still legally separated, but that's where we're headed.
Yep. You're heading that direction. So people listening in maybe potentially heading that direction. You got any advice, positive advice that would help them get through it?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I learned, and obviously my faith helped me through this, is to forgive.
Yep.
Forgive yourself first and forgive the other party. No matter what they've done, something I've learned is just because someone serves you a plate of anger, bitterness, resentment, it doesn't mean you have to sit down and participate. You know, you don't have to take part in that. Yes, initially it's painful. It's really painful, especially when there are children involved. It's really hard, but you don't have to participate. I mean, you would have moments. Yeah, I have moments. I'm like, do I deserve this? But it's that choice to be like, you know what? I will focus on the positives. You know, it's my choice to love this person. It's my choice to honor this person. And my advice would be to let go. Let go of the resentment. Let go of the hurt. Surround yourself with people that will not allow you to be in that place of, you know, bitterness and anger and accepting yourself as a victim, because it's easy to go down that path. And for me, like, I guess, since we're talking about faith and stuff like that, what works for me is, yes, I have my crew, but there's also certain times when you need to kind of, you know, go into that place where for me, it's just me and, you know, God. And I'm like, hey, I know this is not what you planned for me, but help me through this. You know, and he always does. Because, I mean, I believe for me as a Christian, my faith is not really a religion. For me, it's very relational. Because I don't do religion, bro. Like, for me, unfortunately, like, Christianity has been so misrepresented, where people think that God is like this angry schoolmaster waiting to do stuff up, and, you know, he hates this sort of people. Nah, it's just completely a misrepresentation. Like, I'm a dad, right? And nothing my kids will ever do will make me love them less. Ever. No matter what they do, I will always love them. If at all, that love will grow. And if I consider God as my father, why am I not giving him the same credit? You know what I mean? Exactly. And that completely changed my understanding of who he is. I think Christians misrepresent God, and God's pretty much like staying there being like, what are you doing? I preach love. I mean, you know, he's love. We say that he's love. Then where's the hate coming from? You know what I mean?
So to those who don't follow a particular faith, when you're saying that God's is helping you get out of certain situations such as the one you've been previously faced with, how has he done that?
Obviously, that's the wrong word. Anyway, sorry.
Jeez, sorry. I'm done.
All right. I think I decided to follow certain principles that I know are based on him. The fact that I am to love my enemies, even those who hurt me. And I am to choose forgiveness. That's
very tough to do.
It is very tough to do, but...
How do you manage to do that?
Oh, very difficult. Like, sometimes it's like gritting your teeth, especially when you know the other people are not really giving you reason to kind of practice that love or practice that forgiveness. But it's a choice I made. But the most amazing thing was the day I chose to do that, I found myself being free. You know, like when we hold on to unforgiveness and when we hold on to hating somebody, we're actually limiting ourselves from growing. It's not really the other person. And someone actually gave this analogy. It's like you drinking poison and expecting that other person to die. You know, unforgiveness is something like that. You know, you're drinking poison and expecting that other person to die. It's not going to work. Unforgiveness, like even medically, I was a former med student, right? So even medically, it shows like when you're bitter and anger, it actually has a negative impact on your body. You know, you release the wrong sort of hormones and all of that, and it impacts your body. And so yeah, for me, understanding the concepts of my father, and what He expects of me kind of enabled me to walk through really tough times, embracing that, like being like, firstly, it was like, you know what, you have a purpose for me.
Yep.
This is not the end of my story. And now I see that coming to play. You know, if I gave up when all of this happened and I was like, you know what, I'm going to embrace the victim.
You'd still be on the couch.
Oh, dude. It would be miserable. It would be ugly, you know?
Yeah.
And like even to be here, speaking to other people who might be going through similar circumstances and being like, hey, this is what helped me. It will help you too. Because it works.
It does.
For me, it works. And to be honest, all that I've learned is through my faith. And like I said before, I feel like it's been misrepresented in, I don't know, in, I guess, popular culture and whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. And also, like, even through certain churches, you know what I mean? It's really sad because
all you hear, I mean, if we're talking the context of the church and religion, all you hear is about the negative side of it. I'm not going to go into it, but
of course,
obviously people listening in would know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And that's all we hear about, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And that's completely opposing, like, who he is, though. Like, how can we say he's love, but then he hates a certain sect of people?
If you didn't have faith, for those who don't particularly follow anything, how would you get through certain situation? For yourself, how would you get through
Personally, for me, I don't know if I would have, to be honest, because I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because faith to me gave me a lot of purpose. But I'm also blessed in the sense that I have an amazingly supportive family around me. You know, I know there would have been an awesome strength. But if I were to be 100% honest, if you take God out of the equation, I don't know. I don't know if I would be here. And that's the honest truth, because I know how much that relationship, and I always say it's a relationship because it's not a religion. I don't consider him to be a deity and a god that I'm afraid of. It's a relationship. He's my dad. That completely changes the entire dynamic. So
it's a very different perspective to what others may be thinking in that.
I think that's what I want to change.
Yeah, and a lot of people see God as a a different form, a different being.
But most people do not have a good,
very good relationship with who God is.
Exactly, the concept of God. I mean, because people have misrepresented him and presented this thing about him being this angry, old, bearded person, which is really not the case, and I'm a living example of that. And honestly, my purpose, and I feel, is to outwork that. And some people actually think Christians are boring. If you know anything about me, I'm anything but boring. And I want to be real.
Man, I've seen your TikTok.
Yeah, okay, fine. We're not going there. We're not going there.
If it was the main message you may want to possibly come across and speak to people listening in today in relation to God and community, maybe it might have something to do with misrepresentation or something that has helped you get through a certain situation.
I think obviously we've touched on the faith part of it, and I'm sure anyone who's watched knows my stance on it. But I think my biggest message to anyone watching, because obviously you cater to a wider community and a wider audience.
Sure. We want to make sure we're targeting every demographic, ethnicity.
Exactly. I think my main thing is, I know life is really hard, especially right now. I mean, there's so much of uncertainty everywhere.
Yeah.
All I want everyone to understand is that your life, I mean, you're not here by accident. You're not a mistake, and quite often, people embrace it, like, why am I even here? I've struggled with self-hate, man. Like, I've tried, exactly. I've over 10 years ago, I tried to end my life because I was so unhappy with who I was. And I can't even understand why. Because compared to the season I'm on right now, what I went through 10 years ago was like peanuts. It was nothing.
Yeah, much like when I met you as well, I was going through quite a bad state of depression.
Yeah.
Not having clarity as to why I'm here and why there's been such a negative domino effect of situations and scenarios that I've been faced with only recently. And then sometimes it takes a step. You take a step back and just think about it and realize, oh shit, this is why it's happening.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, it's a positive because I've become better for it, and now I can help others, and that's what we want to do.
Look at that. I mean, isn't that worth it, man? Like, I always say, for me, exactly. Like, for me, I had to go through, obviously this is something I do talk about. I'm an overcomer. I hate the word victim, so I always replace that with overcomer. I'm an overcomer of childhood sexual abuse. I'm an overcomer of a lot of stuff, you know. And obviously, when you go through that sort of stuff, you're like, why on earth did I go through that? But now I'm in a place where I can actually talk to someone who's gone through that. And I remember when I tried to speak to somebody about that particular experience, because that messes with you. It messes with your identity. It messes with your sexual identity.
How did you get through that scenario?
For the longest time, I refused to talk about it because I was convinced that if I didn't talk about it, it would just disappear. But
were you embarrassed to talk about it?
Yeah, and especially for talking about the culture that I came from, you don't talk about that stuff. You know, you don't talk about that, and you also try to kind of believe that if you don't talk about it, it will just disappear. But then I noticed that, like, I used to get really upset and angry the moment I felt like no one was listening to me, or the moment I felt cornered, I would get really upset. The root was there because someone older decided to do something and didn't listen to what I had to say. So whenever, you know, it was like a trigger. How did I get over that? It was a process. I mean, it's not something that you get over in a matter of seconds. And like I said, I went through confusion, like confused about my identity, confused about my sexual identity, confused about a lot of stuff.
Yeah, reason why I ask is because, I mean, it might be the same situation as what had happened to you. I mean, I'm not wanting and asking you to share or anything, but when I went out one night, I met a girl out, and she hadn't even spoken or told anyone that she had been raped at a music festival.
Wow.
And this is why I'm bringing up the thought and idea of how did you get through it and come about sharing these sort of things, because she was talking to me like as if she was just having a civil conversation. Yeah. Even when she hasn't even spoken or told anyone about this. So this is why I ask.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's perfectly fine. And I think it happens more often than we think. Or we'd like to admit. And one person choosing to talk about it changes the dynamic as well. When I was talking about that experience, I cracked jokes about it. And I'm one of those people, when I'm uncomfortable in a situation, I would
laugh about it.
Exactly, I laugh it all out. And I'm a very comedic sort of person. I love to make people laugh and all of that stuff, especially when I'm really broken or hurt. I'll make everybody laugh because that makes me happy.
But you're not actually helping yourself.
Absolutely not, because it's like that Band-Aid fix. Like, if I can make someone else laugh, everyone will believe that I'm okay. But I actually sat down and I spoke to a few people. I started attending like the Brisbane Healing Rooms over here. That's a Christian organization.
Really?
Yeah.
And how do you get in contact with these sort of guys?
My parents actually served there. They used to serve there. Yeah. So and it was actually So I guess, like, I was really going through a certain thing in my life where I thought I had to, because I had been quiet about it for way too long. And they started speaking to me, obviously a lot of prayer and all of that stuff, but also I had to forgive those people.
Wow.
I had to forgive the people who hurt me.
I don't know how you did it.
I don't either, but it had to be done because I started to understand that, you know what, if I don't, and if I keep holding them accountable for what they've done, and trust me, people have to be held accountable for what they've done, especially something like that. But you need to also let go, because the longer you hold on to that, you're still allowing that person control how you behave, control how you confront situations or respond to situations. I had to let go. And the moment I did that, I found myself free.
How hard was it to open up that, on that first time?
Very hard, because I remember the first time I actually tried to open up was when I was about 16 years old, and I opened up to this pastor in church, and he actually said, I understand. So my obvious question to him was, did you go through the same thing? And he was like, no. And I literally felt like punching him out. I was like, how would you understand?
You don't know exactly. You don't know what I'm feeling.
Exactly. Like, even for me right now, even though I've walked through that, I can't sit and tell someone else, like that girl, for instance, and be like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I understand.
Exactly.
Because her experience is different to mine.
Completely different.
The way she would respond to it is different to mine. So I think we also need to respect that. And I always tell people, because people look at my story, and I try not to go into details about my story, but they're like, oh my gosh, you've gone through so much. But I'm like, you know what? Someone, smashing their toe against this little table here might feel like their whole world's fallen apart.
Someone else will be fine with it.
Exactly. You can't be objective about issues. Like someone's issue is big to them. My issue is big to me. Their issue is big to them. We can't compare and contrast.
You got to be supportive.
Exactly. Supportive, but also help them out of that situation. That's huge. Because I think right now we need a bunch of overcomers, man. And I personally don't like when people say, I'm a victim of this, I'm a victim of that. No, you've come out of this. Either you're a survivor, more than survivor, I like the word overcomer because it brings you that empowering sense, even the word. So I always
you're either still going through it or you're a survivor and you've overcome a certain situation. You're not a victim anymore.
No.
And that's actually why, you may have noticed the tattoo I've got on my arm now.
Yeah.
I only got it last week.
I was actually going to ask you what that was.
Yeah. I've been wanting to get it for ages, and essentially it's three F's, and it's abbreviation for forgive, forgave, forgotten.
Wow.
So it's like past tense. So what you've got to do, you've got to forgive yourself for doing something wrong or someone else. And then present tense is forgave. So I forgave myself, or I forgave someone else, or the situation I had been faced with, I forgave.
Yeah.
And now, as an overall summary, all is forgotten. So I have a tendency of holding on to things in the past, and it's just something that I just want to look back on and go, you know what, the past is the past. I may have done something wrong. Someone else may have done something wrong. There may be a situation that I've been faced with that I wish I had never been with, and never had been accustomed to go through. But through that, you can become better for it, and all is forgotten. But what isn't forgotten is the growth of how you've gone about and come out of that situation. So that's why I got that tattoo, because it means a lot.
That's amazing, man. That's absolutely amazing. And I love what you spoke about with regards to forgiving yourself, because I think
it's very hard to do.
It is the hardest thing to do. It's easier for us to forgive someone else, but to forgive ourselves, that's huge, man. Because I always I believe that we empower what we agree with. So, and I've noticed through the season of my life, like it's very difficult to sell a false narrative about yourself to someone who knows you. Like my family or people who've done life with me, regardless of what's being said about me or whatever, they cannot be budged. And it actually starts getting me thinking, like, what if I actually believe that about myself as well? What if, like, we are so critical of ourselves, why not affirm ourselves? We look to our friends, we look to everyone else for affirmation, but until we believe it and until we accept it and we embrace the reality of who we are, we're going to live very miserable lives.
A really good example is with social media. Maybe, for example, you've got into gym or exercising, and you've been doing it, been gymming quite hard for the past 6 to 12 months, and you can't see any growth, whereas others can. Purely because you're looking at the Photoshop gym junkies on Facebook, and that's where there's.
But we're all for healthy lifestyles. People work out. We're all for that.
Yeah,
we're all for that.
No, I can't go without 3 or 4 sessions a week.
Check that guy out.
But there's such a lacking of self-affirmation when you're seeking affirmation from someone else. Whereas sometimes you just gotta think, are you really happy? Why are you trying to get bigger? Are you trying to impress someone? You shouldn't have to.
Why?
You shouldn't have to get bigger or look better to impress someone. You should just be yourself, And
as long as
that's
you
what
are
struggle to do.
Like, we all have insecurities. Like,
yeah.
you look like a fashion model, but I'm sure you have insecurities.
I have.
Exactly. And so do I, obviously. Like, I don't think any of us are 100% not insecure.
No one's ever happy with themselves.
Exactly. But, like, we need to, it's also a journey. Like, if we can actually love ourselves, and that's another biblical thing where Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. So it is important to love yourself as well.
Sometimes even waking up in the morning and having personal goals, just reading over them in the morning, or looking in the mirror and saying 3 things to yourself, saying, Jaden, you're doing well with your occupation. Jaden, you're a good looking bloke. You should be happy with it. I'm not talking to myself. I'm just making this up. Trust me. I promise. Jaden, you're an ugly bloke.
No, that's not.
No, but you just say 3 positive things. Even and try to think of things that you find difficult speaking out loud about. And the more you say it, the more you'll find you'll get yourself into a really good headspace, and the difficult days will become a lot easier.
And also try to find things you can be grateful for.
Yeah.
I think an attitude of gratitude really changes things as well. I'm a firm believer that everything we need to meet our purpose and our destiny is already in us. We just need to discover. It's like a treasure hunt. You know, it's a treasure hunt. We need to discover. We need to bring it out to the surface. Like I said, man, whenever people see me, they assume that I either sound like Raj from The Big Bang Theory or I sound like Apu from Simpsons. And I'm like, well, sit down and have a chat with me and let's talk, yeah? So it's like, you know, everything, like I never understood, like I speak very differently to the rest of the members of my family. I never understood why that was the case. I am very emotional, I'm very sensitive, I have a huge capacity to love. I never understood why. And to be honest, for the longest time, I thought something was wrong with me. Like I talk a lot and I'm like, what is wrong with me? But now I actually, through this season, I've actually come to understand, oh my goodness, you know, someone, I call him God, obviously. I'm like, he knew exactly what he was doing. You know, you will speak differently because you will be afforded platforms to talk. You will go through things in life, but you will come out of it and you will talk to people who've gone through that. You know, and it is absolutely amazing. Like right now, like some of our friends may be going through stuff, and you may not see the light at the end of the tunnel. You might be like, okay, this is it. Like, this is it. But I'm here to encourage you, like, your season of adversity is not your final story. It is not the end of your story. It really isn't. You will come out of this. But you need to make that choice as well. You need to make that choice and do not give up. Do not ever give up. What I faced in my life, I really thought would kill me. I firmly believe that even those things that were schemed or planned or what we've encountered that we feel would take us out actually opens the curtains to the best seasons of our lives. We just should never give up. So no matter what you're going through, and all of us, I mean, we go through stuff. And you may feel like this is it. You may feel like this is the end of your story. I'm letting you know that it's just the end of a chapter.
It's just the start.
Exactly, and the start of a new one. And you will carry the lessons, the experiences, and all of that you've learned through the previous chapter. And before you know it, you will also be helping and encouraging other people who go through similar experiences. So my biggest, my biggest theme, man, and this is what I want people to understand: never give up. You are so important. You are invaluable. You are a gift to this world. No matter what you're going through, like I want everyone to know and remember that your life has a purpose. You have a destiny. Your story is not over. In fact, some of you may actually understand and realize that your journey has only just begun. You may be even 50 or 60 and you've gone through a season of complete adversity. You know, problem after problem after problem after problem, and you're like, when is this going to end?
People come to realization at different stages within their lives. And
sometimes life begins at 50. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've spoken to so many people, and some of them are in their 70s, and they're like, oh my gosh, I've actually had a fresh start to life. And I'm like, there you go. You know, 70 is never too old. Age is really just a number.
Exactly.
You know, and we can learn from anybody. I learn from my kids. You know, the time I spend with them, there's so much I learn from them. They teach me what love is. You know, I don't think anything compares. I don't think anything compares to the love of a child and a parent. You know, how much it's insane how much I love my children. You know, it's not even humanly possible, or I don't know, grammatically possible to explain how much I love them. But they teach me so much. They teach me so much about love. And for me, especially, like when I go through tough times, I'm like, you know what, I have 4 kids, and I'm like, those 4 kids expect me, exactly, and it's like they expect me to make it out of here. You know, one day when they're grown up, they may see this and be like, oh my gosh, Dad, you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that, because I know a lot of people that have struggled in the past, and when they've actually had kids themselves, that's when they've become better for it.
Yeah, kids change you, but then some of us, some of our viewers may not have kids. But that doesn't mean that you're, I know, you're a child yourself. But that doesn't mean that, you know, you are less impactful or anything like that, you know. And I'd rather have learned these things at, how old are you, 2?
21.
21, than at 33. You know what I mean? I mean, I would have rather learned certain things in life earlier. But obviously, I also feel like, everything happens for a reason. There's always a plan for everything. I always believe God has a plan and timing for everything. But like you probably benefit from being around people who probably stuffed up later on in life. And you're like, okay, you know what?
Don't make the same.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's not a bad thing to stuff up, but obviously to an extent.
You are responsible for your own choices. So yeah, make the right ones. Sometimes we'll make the wrong ones, but that's when you surround yourself with people that you can be accountable to, and people you can be vulnerable and open with, who will help you through that journey as well.
Fantastic. And I appreciate what you've shared today, and it's obviously, and I know for a fact that it's certainly made a difference in one person's life for a positive.
I guess you can access me. I'm losing words here, but you can check me out on Instagram or Facebook, and there's TikTok.
You might get a TikTok sponsor.
Yeah. TikTok's a bit of a strange platform, but I have so much fun because I'm a creative person as well. I love drama. I love, as in drama, not personal drama, but I love all that stuff. I'm a fun person, so TikTok has been an amazing platform. But just add me up, and I generally respond to any message I get, every single message, as long as it's not spam and unsolicited bad stuff. I respond to every single message I get, and just message me and let's chat. Anything I can do, man. I love people. I'm passionate about people. I love people. And maybe some of you have heard us talk and you're like, oh my gosh, these guys are talking to us today. Reach out to Jay. He's an awesome bloke.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I've had the pleasure of doing life with you.
I hope I've made a difference in someone's life.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I mean, look at the platform you're using, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm sure it helps a lot of people.
Thanks, man.
So thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute honor.
Vice versa. Thanks for taking up some time within your busy schedule. I really appreciate it, man.
Not a problem at all. It's amazing. So get in contact with us if you need to talk. And remember, your story is not over.
Thanks guys for listening. This has been topic 8 of Couching the Mind, clearing the mind one couch talk at a time. Today I've had Dilruk help and share his own story of faith and community. So thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
See you guys.